So before we get you out of here, I did want to ask, that's kind of how the Browns went. How do you think the rest of the AFC North shook up? How did we compare to, what the Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens did? Who do you think won the draft out of the AFC North?
Well, I'll start with the Bengals, and it really depends. We know Jamar Chase is going to be good. So for the Bengals draft class to hit, they need Jackson Carman to be an immediate good starter. We need Deontay Smith to develop into a starting tackle in 1 to 2 years. Joseph Osai needs to come in and immediately be what Carl Lawson was. Cam Sample in the 4th round from Tulane, a guy I really like. Put on about 20 pounds, be an interior rusher. So that's kind of where the Bengals are. Let me scroll through my list here to Pittsburgh.
Well, here, while you're scrolling, let me just ask you on air, because we talked a little bit beforehand. What was your reaction? Because, you are a, Bengals fan or whatever. So, whenever they made that selection of Jamar Chase with Penny Sewell on the board, what was your reaction? I mean, was that good? Or were you glad that they went, and got Joe Burrow another weapon rather than another protector? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I kind of knew about a month before the draft that that's where they were going. But they struggled throwing the ball deep last year. So I think given Joe Burrow his deep threat from LSU will make him more comfortable and all that. Plus, you have to get production out of the number 1 receiver spot. They gave A.J. Green like 112 targets last year and got nothing. So you give Jamar Chase those targets and you immediately make your team better.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks.
That
yeah,
team,
that's what I'm saying. Like it
they're
sucks.
ready.
All right. So do we
Yeah,
have?
I mean, it's like you got to cover him, T. Higgins, Howard Boyd.
I think, obviously
CJ Obama healthy.
Yeah, yep.
We're a Browns podcast, so, obviously we're talking about the Browns turnaround. But, and I'm not trying to show love to AFC North rivals, but the Bengals kind of turned it around quick too.
Yep.
They did. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't sit here and just act like the Bengals are going to be 2 quick and easy wins next season, because they're not going to be.
They weren't easy wins last year.
They weren't this past year.
Yeah,
so
they were tough. Super tough.
It's a tough division. It really is.
Top to bottom, it's the toughest division in football.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got your Pittsburgh stuff pulled up?
I do. I mean, they drafted Najee Harris in the 1st round. I think everybody expected them to draft Najee Harris. I mean, he's the Steeler player, right? And their 2nd round pick, Pratt Freiermuth, he fits the Steeler player. So, I mean, but overall, I wasn't enthralled with the Steelers draft. I think, if they can hit on some of their middle round picks, they'll be okay. But they were probably my least favorite draft classes of the 4 AFC North teams.
Oh, I love to hear that.
That's exactly what I like to hear.
They suck.
Yeah, because, I mean, how many times have we been talking about in the last 15 years where, I mean, they're just picking guys that, and turn them into Pro Bowlers, which who's to say, that's not going to happen now. But it's good to know that, they kind of sucked this year.
Well, one big thing, they really needed offensive line help, and they did not. I don't think they got it.
We talked about that, before the show. People like to talk about the Bengals' offensive line needing help. The Steelers' offensive line was trash.
Yeah, very trash.
And they lost Villanueva. So, I mean, they're going to struggle.
Villanueva's out there now talking garbage about Juju, which is just...
He went to Baltimore, right?
Yeah, he went to Baltimore. It's so funny to see how some of this stuff plays out after, the whole TikTok video thing with Juju, and now what some of his former teammates thought about that.
I would put a pretty hefty bet down that the Steelers aren't starting 11-0 this year.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So that'll take us into, before we get out of here, the Ravens, who I hate just about as much as the Steelers, and I might hate their fans even more. So how do you think they did?
They did well. And it sucks to say that. But you add a true, number one receiver with Rashad Bateman to that team. And you get Odafe Oweh, who's got all the potential in the world. You talked about Jadeveon Clowney not getting the sacks. Oweh had no sacks last year at Penn State, but his disruption was tremendous. And then they drafted the Mountain from Game of Thrones to play guard in the third round. Ben Cleveland, 6'6", 343, tested better than any guard in this year's draft class.
I know they were pumped to get him. I was watching a video, their war room or whatever it's called, whenever they drafted him, and they were all high-fiving each other. And then I saw the picture Barstool posted of him standing next to his girlfriend or something. I was like, that's a lot of man.
I would say, well, they should be happy getting a guy named Cleveland because they wouldn't be anywhere without Cleveland.
Yeah. Do you think, do you think the lack of wide receiver production in Baltimore is because they didn't have good wide receivers, or because Lamar Jackson isn't your traditional stand in the pocket accurate thrower? Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's probably a combination of both. But you're going to give him a guy like Bateman. You're going to have a deep threat now with Hollywood Brown. You're going to have another guy they drafted in the fourth round, Tylan Wallace, who's a tremendous route runner. So I think their offense is going to be improved. I also like them getting Shaun Wade in the fifth round. A potential starting nickel corner for them down the road. So
I know, as a Buckeyes fans, I think I would have been really bummed that they got Shaun Wade 2 years ago, and then after watching him this year, I was like, okay, you can have Shaun Wade.
Yeah, right.
Because he struggled bad at Ohio State this year.
Yeah, I think moving him back into the slot will pay off for him.
So, yeah, that definitely hurt him. He outside is definitely not where he belongs.
No,
but
it's not where he excels.
So I guess we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm hoping Lamar just continues to not be able to really throw. Bateman's career nosedives, and the Browns are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy this year.
It really it kind of sucks because we were talking Rashad Bateman all Thursday night because there had been some stories out there about the Browns potentially taking a receiver in the first round, and we knew he'd probably be available later in the first. And he's a great player. I liked his college tape. I like the player. I was disappointed to see him go to Baltimore, not because it was Baltimore, but because I just don't think the potential for his career to take off early is now smaller than what it could have been had he gone to Green Bay or New Orleans or somebody with an accurate throwing quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, I think Bateman's going to excel regardless.
Well, that sucks.
He's just a good player, and by all intents and purposes, he's a good person too. So
yeah, and that's another thing I like.
So I don't want to wish any ill will on him.
No, and I'm not wishing ill will on him. It's just now I'm just torn, because I'm I want to see him do well in the NFL.
I'm not torn.
Not now.
I'm not torn at all. It's a very easy choice for me.
Yeah. I hope he goes 0-16 every year of his career.
Yeah.
0-17 now, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They got room for one more loss.
That's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, it is.
I can't do math very well on the fly, so when I'm trying to think of these records, what these teams are going to go.
Blake says instead of going 8-8, now teams are going to go 9-7. I'm that's the same thing.
Hey, I'm a podcaster, not a mathematician. All right. Well, hey, Brian, we want to thank you for being with us again today, giving us this draft breakdown. That was really awesome. Hopefully the delay wasn't too hard on you. I think we got through it, and we can't wait to have you guys, have you back on. And for anybody who liked what Brian had to say, make sure you guys check out deepfrieddraft.com.